Today I wanted to shoot a review of this saber, but not exactly the full saber. Let me clarify. The blade on this is from Ripper's Blade. It was a custom one that was designed for me. This has a different review where I have looked at this specifically. The core on this is a standard LGT baselit core, so I've looked at that as well. The main grip section on this I made. I'll talk about that briefly, but the primary thing I wanted to talk about is this crossguard right here and this pommel. Now, these are from a company called Mystic Knights. This whole saber is something that you can get something very much like it from Mystic Knights pre-assembled. Mystic Knights is an LGT retailer. Now, if you haven't seen any other videos about that, what that means is that they're carrying a lot of the same parts that a lot of other places are carrying from a major lightsaber part distributor. LGT parts are all interchangeable with each other, so the parts from this work with parts from others, which is why this hilt that this grip that I customized works with these parts I'm talking about today. Mystic Knights, however, is somewhat unique in that these parts right here, as far as I'm aware, are exclusive to them. I've seen them kicking around a couple of other times, but they're pretty much exclusive to Mystic Knights. I'm guessing this is part of some deal that they have with LGT, and this is kind of what they do. They have a few different crossguards, a few different pommels. Now, usually they sell the full saber together, but part of the idea of LGT or any of these sabers that are customizable with parts that remove and reattach is that you don't have to rebuy the whole saber every time. So I was excited when I saw that Mystic Knights started offering parts, and they do this every so often. It's just it's kind of a hit or miss. But the crossguard part right here and the pommel part right here eventually became sold separately. And that's what I'm dealing with right here. In terms of parts, they're interchangeable with any variable hilt configuration saber from LGT. The one thing to keep in mind about them, though, is that both the emitter and the pommel are male threaded. So most other LGT sabers, a good number of them, use a female threading for the pommel. The Revan, I think, is one of the exceptions to this. But what that means is that you're going to need a double female adapter in order to use this pommel. The male threading on the emitter is pretty well standard. The only problem with the emitter is you see how shallow the emitter is right here. Okay, it's got set screws up at the top for holding in a flat blade. This looks best with flat blades. But a lot of LGT sabers, the saber core comes up into the emitter. If I tried to do this without this extension that I have right here, the core comes all the way up to here. So if I put it on this emitter, it would be sticking out the end and there's no room for the blade. So these parts are very nice and they'll definitely put some bang in a saber. You just have to make certain that you have a saber that can use them, or you obtain the adapters that you need in order to make this work. All right, the grip section right here is just a standard VHC, a variable hilt configuration body that I just leather wrapped and then I weathered the whole thing. When this emitter, when it was sent to me, and this pommel were actually a different finish, but once I weathered the whole thing, it flows together a little bit better, though you can still see that this is slightly more silvery than the rest. The neat thing about this emitter is there's a shine-through window right here. So let me turn this on again. There we go. So when the thing is lit, that area right there shines through, provided the blade that you're using is going deep enough into the saber to make that happen. Right? When I was using a smaller extension, I could get the blade in, but this core was coming up through here and cutting out the bottom of that window. So it requires the right setup in order to be able to use the parts, because again, you can't just take them and screw them onto any old LGT saber. You have to either get adapters or you have to have the right setup in terms of a saber. These will both work if you screw them onto a Revan saber. It just looks a little bit weird. If you're not looking to be able to customize and fight with it, you can just go to Mystic Knights and just get a full setup. But I like the idea of the parts being able to turn something into your own design. I really like how my leather wrap turned out. So all things told, this is an excellent looking saber. I've got a soft spot in my heart for lightsabers that look like old swords. You've probably noticed that if you've been watching things like my rapier, or there's a two-handed Ancient Armory saber, the Zweihander that I did a while back. This is a nice hand-to-hand and a half saber. It works great for spinning, though be careful if you're spinning with a flat blade. But very nice saber, very nice design, and this thing is sturdy enough to catch a blade if you got a standard blade in here and you want to use it for dueling. The points on it are not particularly sharp. They are, I'm guessing this is, I don't know if this is machined or molded. It's probably machined, but if it's machined, it's beveled well. So these things are not anything that you're going to mess yourself up on. Very neat design, kind of very reminiscent of Lord of the Rings. Big fan of these parts, so I'm happy that I finally ended up with them. The Crossguard and Pommel parts from Mystic Knights. If this review has been of use, then join me back next time. I'll see you then.